Bis zum Start, erster Lauf, Einsitzer der Frauen hier beim EBERSPA Rodel-Weltcup.
3 on the 48th season at the EBERSPA Luge World Cup. We're in Oberhof, Germany, the first of 4 World Cup races to be staged in the nation of Germany this season. Hi again, everyone. I'm Tim Singer. We've had the doubles races earlier today, captured by Germany in men's doubles, Austria in women's doubles, and now we turn our attention to the women's singles competition. Joining me, I'm pleased to introduce from Team Ireland, Elsa Desmond. Elsa, what can you tell us about this Oberhof track and the keys to victory here?
Hi Tim, thank you so much for having me back in the commentating box. This is quite a challenging track. It's very much a driver's track. We've got these quick transitions. As Leon was saying this morning, we don't have very many long straights in this track. It's not like Eagles, and there's going to be points where athletes can quite easily be caught out and they don't have much time to recover it, so they're going to lose lots of time. So coming into the POV here, we're just coming into curve 4, 5. These top sections of the track are not particularly fast. They're just going to be building their speed coming through these sections into curve 7. And then this is where we get to the crux of the track. This is curve 8 into curve 9. They need to get these sections right, keep them nice and relaxed so they get this good curve 11. Nice transition into 12. We might see people hitting here before 12, and then again into this big curve 13. People might be high on the exit there, and that's going to cause problems down that long straight. People might ping pong, and then we have this big Kreisel. Lots of time to gain, lots of time can be lost.
As the Germans, Eidberger and Maschina, learned earlier today in women's doubles, even those who know this track well could have problems at any point. Weather conditions, foggy earlier today. How's the temperature feeling to you trackside?
So it's certainly similar to what we've had in training in the early part of the week. It's wet, it's cold. We saw the track frosting quite a bit this morning. It's -2 in the air, -2 on the ice, and 95% humidity. So I don't think the track will necessarily hold up well for the full 30 sleds in this first run.
Humidity is the enemy to a good luge race. There's no doubt about that. Natalie Maag set that track record about 3 seasons ago at the start. Anna Berreiter, who won a world championship on this track, still holds the full course record. Those are pretty long-standing records by luge standards, because we see track records seemingly broken each week these days. As we check out the 30 that will take part in today's competition, Elsa, any chance at a track record today?
Well, one thing to note is that track record is only about 3 years old, as this track was redone about 3 years ago prior to those World Championships.
Oh, that's right, of course.
So that curve 8, curve 9, curve 10 was all changed then. So all of these track records have come since those changes in the track.
The back 10 here will be those who did not take part in the seeded group and also did not qualify among the top in yesterday's Nations Cup. The first 5 we'll see were the top 5 finishers yesterday in the Nations Cup competition. They've changed the start order a little bit this season to accommodate just this, conditions that are not conducive to holding the track for all 30, right?
Yeah, so it used to be slowest first and fastest from the seeded group going last. We now see the top 5 finishers from the Nations Cup, followed by the seeded group, and then the remaining athletes from the Nations Cup at the back, with the slowest going off last. So it means that the seeded group are getting better ice. It does make it more challenging for those that came 6th and 7th in the Nations Cup, because they're now trying to beat the people that are going off 12, 14 sleds before them.
Exactly, that dreaded start position number 18 or something like that.
Number 19 here today will be Caitlin Nash, so she came 6th in Nations Cup.
Meantime, her teammate, Trinity Ellis, finished 5th yesterday in the qualifying race, and by virtue of that, she'll lead things off here. 22-year-old from Vancouver originally, makes her home in Pemberton, British Columbia. She's had some mixed results on her home track in Whistler, which of course is hosting this year's World Championships.
I'm sure all of this Canadian team will be very excited to get back to a home track for those World Championships in the new year.
Well, that's the thing. This is their final race, and they will not take part in in the team relay, so the Canadians could be on a plane as early as tomorrow and getting about 2 weeks of extra training time on that World Championship course. Of course, you got a break for Christmas dinner.
Absolutely, and we need to keep that weight on as luge athletes.
World Cup Luge is 2 runs, combined time competition.
So for these first 5 athletes and then the ones that we see after Cedar Group, the big thing for them will be getting that second run and making sure they have a 2-run race here. Putting down a nice run so far as we come towards the more challenging section of the track. Nice early entrance into curve 11. She's looking pretty smooth so far.
And here's the key part of the course, and not that bad, a little correction.
You can see her really working to press her head back there and not hitting out of the Kreisel, which is going to be crucial for the athletes that go on to do team relay tomorrow.
42.662. When we get a chance, Elsa, tell us where that pad will be tomorrow in the team relay, because it's up a little bit above that finish curve.
So the pad will be right before curve 15. So that's the corner within the finish, the braking corner. So they need to keep lying down as they go over the first ridge and sit up right as close to that paddle as they can. I actually got to test that paddle yesterday. They had a test using some of the athletes that didn't qualify here for the World Cup. So I got to test that paddle, and it's in a really nice spot just before that corner.
Hey, by the way, I watched that test yesterday, and you did a nice job. You and Hunter, you guys had some good driving lines. I'm glad you got to do a relay.
Thank you very much. So we have Tova Kohala here from Sweden. Finished in 4th place in yesterday's Nations Cup race.
Tova had a pair of 18th place finishes last year in Oberhof. They held 2 World Cups here in Oberhof last season, as they will do again this season. It's the only track with a pair of races this year.
She's putting together some nice lines here. A little bit high there on the end of curve 11. I know she had some issues yesterday in the Nations Cup with her spikes on the start, but a really nice exit there out of curve 13. Really clean line going into the Kreisel.
To the finish, she stays ahead of the Canadian based on their results yesterday. She holds her position. So Tova Kohala of Team Sweden. Both she and her brother Svante had great Nations Cup races yesterday.
Absolutely. Svante Kohala finishing 2nd in his Nations Cup and Tova finishing 4th in hers. A great week for the Swedish athletes. Unfortunately, Rasmus, the 3rd Swedish athlete, did not make it into the World Cup today, but we will see him as a forerunner in the World Cup relay event tomorrow.
Terrific.
Just hitting out there, but you can see her really pressing that head back, getting every 1,000th of a second that she can in that finish. And showing off her sponsors there.
Sandra Robatscher has been sliding on the national team for more than 10 years, off and on over the last few seasons, as Sandy has been battling some injuries. In fact, she did not race here in Oberhof last year.
I think
actually it was earlier this year.
Yeah, I think she only did the first half of the season last year because of that ongoing shoulder issue. But she seems to be in good form this year and is sliding really well. Putting down a nice run here so far in the green as we come to this more challenging section of the track. Nice entrance there into curve 11.
Holding a slim lead right now over Sweden. Now falling behind.
Really clean exit there, just not getting the time though. It's too early in the race for the track to be making a difference. She's lost some time there, just slipping behind Tova.
By 0.06 of a second. Early going right now, Sweden over Italy and Canada. We have 4 Germans in today's race, 3 Austrians, 4 from the USA. We've got a full field of athletes, another Italian waiting at the top.
Absolutely, she's really powerful on this start here. You can see those strong paddles as she was going into the first curve. Yeah, we're seeing big fields here now. It's the pre-Olympic season. Everyone's going to want to make sure they're fielding as big a teams as they can, those full teams, so they're getting those athletes this World Cup experience as we go towards Olympic qualification next winter.
A warm welcome to our viewers that have tuned in around the world to watch our YouTube live streaming FIL Luge channel. Craig sends a good morning from Calgary. We have a couple of good mornings to Elsa from our viewers. Thanks for watching. And here's Verena Hofer of Italy.
It's great to see Italy having a slightly bigger team than we had on the women's side last year. Nice to see them having a full team again. Already in the green here, you can see the way she's really working on that form, building that speed. Nice, a little bit early into curve 10 there. Nice exit of curve 11 into 12. And she's already in the green by 1,000th of a second.
And here we are, a nice line in the straightaway between 13 and 14. To the finish, 42.399. And of course, Elsa, one reason why Italy had to rebuild here in women's singles is because two of their singles athletes teamed up to form a very strong doubles team.
Yes, of course, and I don't think that's a decision anyone will be regretting. They've had a fantastic couple of seasons, just struggling a little bit to find their stride this season. But I'm confident that they'll get back into their rhythm as we move towards their home games next winter. Could just see that entrance there into curve 9 and getting that early transition to curve 10. Just a little rough on that entrance, but absorbed it well.
Italy out in front of Sweden. A shout out to Paul, who's watching today on the YouTube channel from Shanghai. We will be in China for the World Cup conclusion in late February. Here's the first of the Germans, Melina Fischer. She's originally from Oberwiesenthal, which is in the Saxonian region, but has trained here with Torsten Gorlitzer for years on the Oberhof track.
Initially in the red there after her start, but now she's into the green by 500ths, just making up time as she goes down this track. Like many of the Germans, she will have a huge amount of experience on this track, so we'll be hoping for some clean lines.
Winner yesterday in the Nations Cup, and that usually means a top 6 in the World Cup. Not always, but often.
She's looking really good here down in the bottom section of the track. Really nice run she's putting together. Hitting just there before the finish, but that won't really affect her time because she was so close to the finish by then. Although a thing to look out for tomorrow when it comes to the team relay.
Sure. Elsa, all you need to know about Germany luge is that Melina Fischer was born in 2004 and started in the sport of luge in 2010. So she was 6 years old.
Absolutely. That does also make me feel incredibly old.
Right. But they start them young and they develop champions here in Germany.
Absolutely. And it's that years of experience and just thousands of run down these tracks. These athletes are so formidable within this sport, and you can understand why. And greeting the crowd there. It's great to see so many people out here supporting this week, and hopefully we'll get the same when we come back here in January.
Extrem gut gelaunt danach. Merle Fraebel.
The great Germans Berreiter and Taubitz still to come, but here's the second of the four, Merle Fraebel. Merle with one World Cup victory in her still young career, and Elsa, that victory was right here last season.
She'll be looking for a good result here. She's the first of the seeded group to go off, so she will have the best ice of the seeded group as it is quite foggy here, and she'll be wanting to take advantage of that and put down a clean run. She's in the red at the moment, although her lines are looking nice.
Second fastest start time, only behind the Italian Hofer.
Only 500s behind, but the Germans are known to make up time in the bottom section of the track.
Advantage Melina Fischer right now as Fraebel will try to find about 600s here at the bottom, and she does.
Just slipping into the
great
green
job
on the finish line.
Wow, that was all the result, I would imagine, of the straightaway and the final Kreisel.
Yeah, so much time can be gained and lost in that Kreisel. It's a very long corner, and she did it very, very well, making sure her head was back, keeping that really nice line, and it was just enough to put her ahead.
And if it matters, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. She has the fastest speed at the bottom clock so far as well.
She's got her sled set up right, that's for sure.
You know who the second fastest was among the first 6?
I'm not sure.
It is Sweden's Kohala, second fastest speed, although she's back in 4th place at the moment. Kendija Aparjode finished 5th and 8th in the 2 races here in OBERHOF last year. The first of the Latvians, 27 years old, from Schulte.
With Sigulda being their home track, they're used to tracks where they have to work hard, where they have to drive. So a track like OBERHOF works to their strengths. It's another similar track. It's a driver's track. Just a little bit early there into curve 7. Ooh, and a big skid there out of curve 8. Sorry, out of curve 9. That's going to have cost her some time.
1400's back, and now she's clean here in the straightaway to finishing Kreisel, but she'll be hard-pressed to be in the top 4. 6th place.
No, she had a skid up in curve at the end of curve 9, and that will have lost her speed. It will have lost her some of the momentum she had from the from the top section, and that will have just carried through down into the bottom, and she wasn't going to make up the time then.
Elsa, it's been a very disappointing start of the season for Kendija with a 12th and 13th in the first 2 races. This from an athlete with a handful of podiums in her career.
Yeah, I'm not sure what her summer training has been like. That you can see that big skid, you could see the ice flying out from behind her sled. Any time that we're cutting ice like that, we are braking, and that is slowing us down. Yeah, I'm not sure what's happened to her, how her summer training's been, if anything's gone wrong or if there's just some setup issues. I'm not really sure what's going on, but hopefully she'll get into her stride later in the season, particularly with Sigulda being the next race.
Lost in all of the hype of the world champion from Austria, Schulte, and the multi-time race winner Madeleine Egle has been the performance of 2 very young Austrians, Dorothea Schwarz coming up in a moment, and here's Barbara Allmaier with 2 Nations Cup victories already, and now she finds herself in the seeded group, just 21 years old.
Great to see these young Austrian athletes coming through, getting the opportunity to get this World Cup experience and really build themselves as sliders. Ooh, hitting a little bit early there into curve 9. Looking to lead out this section.
She had a 4th place finish in Lillehammer, and then a bit of a surprise dropping to 14th on her home track last week in Innsbruck.
Into 3rd there on the finish. As we said, she's a really young athlete. These German athletes that she's sitting behind at the moment have so much experience on these tracks, so sitting in 3rd is not a bad place for her to be at this point in the race.
Not at all for the 21-year-old from just outside of the Eagles track, the little village of Hall. That's almost a stone's throw, not literally a stone throw, but very close to Eagles.
Just coming very early into curve 13 there, but managed it well and had a really nice exit.
Top 20 from run number 1 here will qualify for the second heat. Natalie Maag now grabbing those handles. She had very respectable results here at the 2 World Cups last year for Switzerland. A 6th place and a 4th place in the 2 races. And that was right after, I believe, right after those stellar world championships for Natalie.
She had a really good season last season. Quite a strong start here, 3,000ths behind on the start, although that's dropping back a little bit now to 200ths. She's a really strong athlete, Natalie, and she's been in this partnership with the Germans for a very long time, which does seem to work really well for her. A little high there on the end of 11, but a really nice transition into 12.
Exit of 13, a key part. The double sleds had a lot of trouble here, not so much with the singles.
Just dropping back into 4th there.
Yeah, 1200s back, and you said it about 5 sleds ago, and it bears repeating somewhat regularly, Elsa. The track, keep an eye on it, what you think it might be yielding or not yielding to these athletes.
Yeah, the air is very wet here. It's going to be some of these later athletes within the seeded group, Berreiter, Elina Bota, sorry, that will show us how this track is holding up. If those athletes are dropping behind, it might well be that the track is losing some time. Really nice clean exit there. You can just see how she's relaxed on the sled. She's pressing her head back, and she's getting that nice transition into the prize zone.
With the first of the Americans getting ready at the top, now's as good a time to tell everyone, in case you didn't know, that the top-ranked USA athlete, Emily Sweeney, with a 2nd and a 4th so far this season, is not racing today. Emily is still nursing an ongoing neck injury, so she'll take advantage of the Christmas break. Here's Summer Britcher. Summer had some disappointing results here last year in Oberhof with a 19th and a 15th, but an early lead now given away to Fraebel of Germany.
Just got into the green there, and now she's back into the red. We saw these German athletes pick up a lot of time in the lower section of the track. She's looking clean at the moment, only 700ths behind. But it'll come down to this bottom section.
It will, and she has a tap, a correction, nothing major, but she is looking to be in 6th, 7th place, perhaps at best here. 6th, 42.489 for Summer Britcher, with 2 of her USA teammates still to come. But the Americans certainly are feeling the loss of Emily Sweeney this weekend.
Yeah, she looks a little bit disappointed with that run, just that tap out of curve 13, costing her too much time when we are working with such tight margins here in this race. Here it is, just that tap on that right wall. You could see a little bit of ice being cut there, and that will have just lost her some time. There she has it, better next run.
That's what any loser strives for, a better the next time, win, lose, or draw. Here's Dorothea Schwarz, 19 years old from Innsbruck. She finished 3rd in the opening Nations Cup race in Lillehammer. Followed that up with a career best top 10, 9th place finish in the World Cup.
Such a young athlete. She is the youngest athlete in this field. She is technically still a junior, but racing in these senior races. So it's great for her to be getting this experience and doing so well on this senior circuit. Putting down a nice run here so far, just not quite finding the time. No major issues that I can see though. Just 600ths behind at this point. Managing that exit really well.
That was a different line than we've seen with most of the athletes who come off 13 on the low side. 42.401. She didn't race this World Cup last year, but Dorothy actually had a 6th place finish at the World Championship under 23 competition here in Oberhof in 2023.
It's great to see Austria with some of these younger athletes getting the opportunity to build for the future, although I'm sure their more senior athletes are not going anywhere quite yet. And as you said, she took quite a high line in 13. There is a couple of options of how you drive 13, so she comes from quite high. Just a little bit of height there on the exit, but managed it really, really nicely.
25-year-old Ashley Farquharson, week in and week out, wins the glitter on the face competition among the luge athletes.
You can hear the Americans shouting there in the background.
That's right, taking the lead from Latvia, now Austria, with the yelling at the start. Not a particularly fast start time for Ashley.
Ashley isn't a particularly fast starter, but she does tend to make up time lower down in the track. She really had a breakout season last year with some fantastic results, and she'll be looking to build on that this season. A little high there.
Top placing American last year. She had a 7th place finish in the 2nd Oberhof race. Close, it's very close.
Just had to work a little bit there to keep on the ball after. 13 and just dropping back into 4th.
So it's 4th, Elsa, but only 0.03 of a second separating all of the top 4, bearing in mind that the top-ranked lugers are still to come.
Absolutely, and I think in the second run we'll see these athletes spread out a little bit more. Everything is to play for in this second run with such small margins between these athletes. Ashley's famous glitter there on her face, looking fabulous. Just this nice entrance into curve 9. A little bit rough transition there into 10. And a hit there out of Kreisel, but as we said earlier, that's not really going to affect
Go Lady Liberty!
Here's Lisa Schulte, really still building on that surprise world championship from last year in Altenburg. Lisa had been on the podium maybe once or twice prior to the Worlds, but now she's become a fixture. Elsa, at least to open up this season with a pair of 3rd place results.
Absolutely, great to see her on the podium a little bit more. She's already in the green here on this run. I think coming off that World Championship victory, it's just given her some confidence on that sled. And now we're seeing that this season in her results.
We certainly saw what the Austrian sleds were capable of doing in women's doubles earlier today. And really a good line. This should be a pretty safe advantage for Elisa Schulte of Austria. 1400s up on Merle Fraebel and into the lead for Austria. 13 have come down, 17 still to come. And of those 17, only the next 4 will be from the seeded group.
Putting down a really, really nice run there. Such clean lines. That's a great picture there of the spikes that we have on the fingers. For anyone less familiar with luge, those are what we use to propel ourselves on those paddles. Getting that early entrance across into curve 11.
Certainly one of the race favorites getting ready to go at the top. Still ahead, Madeleine Egle on deck. But here is Julia Taubitz. She grew up in Saxony outside of Altenburg, but has spent most of her luge racing career right here on the OBERHOF track. She won one of the 2 World Cups last January held here in OBERHOF.
Already in the green here by about 0.04 of a second. Just losing a little bit of that lead down to 13 thousandths, and now she's into the red. Putting together a nice run, no obvious mistakes, back into the green.
Wow, back and forth, but this is what Julia does best. She finds the green down below, usually.
Absolutely, a really nice exit there, pressing her head back, building that speed. She's currently 200ths behind. They'll come down to the line.
And she finds that time. Look, the sincere surprise and delight from head coach Patrick Leitner as Taubitz, in search of World Cup victory number 30 this weekend, puts herself in position into the lead with just a couple of remaining here in the seeded group.
And you could just see the excitement in the crowd there as she flicked into the green right on that finish line. And a really nice exit here, very clean out of curve 13. Just pressing that head back and staying nice and relaxed on the sled.
She said the thing she was looking most forward to racing here in Oberhof was sleeping in her own bed again. Life on the road is tough for lugers.
I can imagine how exciting that must be.
Madeleine Egle was incredibly impressive last week in winning on her home track in Innsbruck. Her sister was equally as impressive earlier today in running away with the race in doubles.
Madeleine is a very strong starter. Not surprising to see her in the green right from the outset here. Putting together a very clean run.
Fastest start time, holding those fastest intervals here out of 13, or out of 11 rather.
She's just gaining on that lead. Last week we saw her with a big lead in Innsbruck, And again, we might be seeing that on this first run here. Just working a little bit hard out of curve 13 down that straight to keep it in a line. Losing a little bit of time on the finish.
Yeah, she lost about 500ths, as you mentioned. She could have been a little cleaner on the straightaway between 13 and 14. Nonetheless, she holds on to the top spot and likely will, heading into run number 2, in search of her second consecutive victory. It would be her 14th career victory.
And I think this shows us that although the track may be slowing down a little bit, it's not having too much of an impact, as we're still able to get these good times at this point in the race. This was this exit here of curve 13. You can see she just caught a little bit of height on the end of that corner, having to work a little bit hard down this straight to keep it on a good line and get that right-hand side entrance into the Kreisel.
Egle out in front. Earlier we mentioned it's been a disappointing season for Latvia's Kendija Aparjode. The same probably can be said for Elina Bota, a two-time World Cup winner who has just barely cracked the top 10 with a 9th place finish in one of the 2 races this season.
Yeah, we haven't been seeing the results we might expect so far this season from the Latvian women, and I don't know if it's a sled setup issue or what's been going on. She's putting down a nice run here so far, but just struggling to find that speed compared to Madeleine's run.
Trailing by 32. Wow. I got to tell you, I'm a little surprised. I mean, you can't expect perfection every week, but the Latvians have been underperforming.
Yeah, just not getting the results they'd have hoped for. No major issues there. A few minor things, minor corrections, all of which will have cost her time. But 5/10ths back is a significant drop in time there. Not what she'd have been looking for on this first run.
Certainly not. Bear in mind, Latvia has 1 victory this year. That was in men's doubles. They're a deep enough team where they figure to contend for the podium tomorrow in relay, but this is a little bit perplexing in women's singles.
Again, you can just see her working a little bit to stay off that right wall. She overcorrected there, went quite far to the left, and then had to push herself again to the right to get the correct entrance into the Kreisel. Little corrections will have cost her time, won't have cost her 5/10ths, so definitely some other things going on there.
Well, this was the point in the start list where American Emily Sweeney was slated to go. As we mentioned, in case you missed it, Emily dropped out of the race as she tweaked her neck during training. So the final seeded athlete was a woman who won a world championship on this track in Oberhof, Anna Berreiter, 25 years old from Berchtesgaden.
Not as strong a start as she would have liked. It looked like she was a little bit too far to the left on that start and had to work quite hard on the entrance. I think I might have heard a little skid there in 7, but I couldn't see one, but it sounded like there may have been.
On a podium last year in the 2nd race in Oberhof with a 2nd place result. Still looking for her first podium this year, 1 top 5.
Already dropping back here. She's 3/10ths behind Madeleine, and just not enough track left to make that up.
Back in 8th place, Germany holding on to positions 2, 4, 5, and 8 right now as we conclude the seeded group. But it's Austria leading the way in 1st, 3rd, and 6th. And Elsa, I got to believe it's what you alluded to. It was an issue early, and that's not when you want to make the slight corrections early on the track.
No, I think we're going to get a replay here of the start. It looked like she was quite far to the left on that start ramp. We didn't see it there, and it looked like she had to work quite hard to get the cut into curve 4. Nice exit here of 13, but if you've lost the speed further up in the track, no matter how good you are in the bottom section, you just can't make that time up. And she'll be looking to speed that up.
Right, I was going to say translation is what can you do? Caitlin Nash starts off the rest of the qualifiers now, the 21-year-old from Whistler on course. Her favorite track is Winterberg. You don't get that from a lot of the athletes, but I the Winterberg track when it's not raining.
I will make no comment on the Winterberg track.
Okay. You don't want to get yourself in trouble.
No, I do not. She finished in 6th in the Nations Cup. It's a really tough place to sit in. You've got to try to beat the person that had the first set ice, which is very tricky when it's humid like it is now. There's going to be frost forming on that track. She's putting together a nice run. A couple of small mistakes, but nothing major, and a really nice exit there of her curve 13. She will just be looking to stay in that top 20 and guarantee herself that second run.
Well, if it's any indication, this is interesting. She finishes just ahead of her teammate, Trinity Ellis, who she finished 1 spot behind yesterday. So that at least shows that, all things being equal, which of course they're not on the ice, you can still put down or keep up with those top 5 even after the seeded group goes.
Absolutely. It looks like they're keeping this ice in quite good condition. It's not having too much impact on the times. Getting that early entrance into curve 13. Great to see so many spectators out here today.
Nash sitting in 17th place, which is her best result on this track. That was last season at the first World Cup in Oberhof. Now Corina Buzătoi of Romania. She went a little conservative on the paddles, it would appear.
Corina, not the fastest starter in the World Cup. She does train throughout the summer on a sort of dry facility in Romania. Only second here on the senior circuit, so she's still sort of finding her legs here and getting used to that. Late entrance there into curve 10. Manages it well.
Looking to qualify for the second run. Yeah, she nearly turned that over in the straightaway. She's yet to qualify.
She just rose up there on the end of curve 10, on the end of curve 13. Managed it really well, but that will have cost her some time, dropping back by 9/10. And again, she will be one of these athletes looking to just stay in that top 20 for the second run. Although she does look a little bit disappointed.
As I was about to say, she has yet to make it into the top 20, but sitting in 19th place with still a few good ones to come, it's not to her advantage right now.
She did go for 5 paddles there on the start. It looks like she made a good cut. Just a little bit later than you'd like into this curve 11. And this is where you see she comes low and then just grabs height on the end of that curve 13. She does well to stay relaxed and manage to control it so she doesn't ping pong, but that will have cost her some time.
Corina figures to take part tomorrow in the women's portion of the team relay, but on ice now, Nina Zugler, South Tyrolean, 23 years old, a 2022 Olympian. Had 2 races here last year in Oberhof, had 15th and 16th place results.
Like so many of these Italian athletes, she will be looking to put down some good runs over the next year and secure her spot in those home Olympics in Milan Cortina. Looking quite clean here. And a really nice exit there of curve 13, pressing her head back, building that speed. 110 on the speedo. Oh, and a big skid there out of Kreisel. Hopefully that won't have bruised her arm too much.
That was her head coach. That was her father. That's Armin Zugler down there at the finish walking away. A little disgruntled as Nina has finished time, putting her in 19th place right now. Buzătoi sitting in 20th at the moment for Romania. You know, Elsa, we've had some new young athletes show up here in the sport, in particular the 2 Austrians, Allmaier and Schwarz, but have there been any retirements? I don't think there has been a ton of turnover from last season in women's singles.
So we saw Teresa, who was the Slovakian athlete. We saw her in a few races last season on the World Cup. She has now stepped away, so there is no Slovakian women's sliders this season. I'm not sure if we've had any others.
Yeah, that's what happens when you approach the Olympics. Here's Ukraine's Yuliana Tonichka, 21 years old. She's been on the World Cup since she was 16. She's been in the sport since she was 11 years old. Where do the Ukrainians train?
So they spend most of their time in Sigulda, that is their home track. I believe most of them are now living back in Ukraine, but they are spending a lot of time in Sigulda. Sigulda is a particular favorite track of Juliana. She has a lot of experience there, builds very clean runs. Notably, she won the Junior World Championships a few years ago on the new Bludenz track in Austria and has come off that victory into the senior circuit and has been putting down some fantastic performances. Just having to work quite hard down that straight, doing some corrections.
Juliana's qualified for run number 2 in one of the 2 races this year. She won't do it here in Oberhof. She had a 20th in Lillehammer, but no run number 2 for Tanitska, who will be in a little bit of a contest with her teammate Elina Schmaha to see who races tomorrow in team relay. I think it's safe to say Stetskiv will not race in women's singles tomorrow.
No, she will be in the doubles discipline, although she is doing double duties today, doing both events.
All right, as we get ready for our next sled to go from Latvia, it's Madeleine Egle still leading ahead of Taubitz and another Austrian, Schulte, in third. And we have a question that comes in. Elsa, it says, I'm not sure why the Austrians on German tracks are way faster. Can you explain? I mean, they've been fast everywhere, haven't they?
They've been fast everywhere this season. The thing with the German tracks is most of these athletes, particularly from the larger nations, do have a lot of experience here. It's not like one of the tracks in Asia or the US where there's a huge home track advantage. Just hitting early there into curve 7, managing it well. Yeah, these German tracks, everyone has a huge amount of experience. Everyone's been sliding them for a long time. And the Austrians have really got good sled setups this year. It's working really well for them. Hitting there before curve 12, you can hear the skid there. And again, hitting there before curve 13. And really having to work hard.
Basic pinball machine down here to the bottom as Kaluma crosses the finish line in a 22nd place time. It probably doesn't hurt, Elsa, just getting back to that point about the Austrians on German tracks, as one viewer notes that a Austrian coach the last 4 or 5 years is a man who knows these German tracks pretty well, George Hakel.
Yes, George Hakel, one of the most famous athletes in our sport. Just looking at Zana here, she's done really well because she slid this morning within the doubles discipline and now she's switching back to the single sled. And she is a back woman on that double as well, so it's a very different style of driving, switching across from the double to the single. It's quite tricky to transition, particularly in the same day between the two. We won't see her in the second run here, but she's doing really well as one of the only 2 women to be managing doing those double duties.
Claudia Domorodska is looking for her first top 20 this season. She had a 19th place finish last year in Oberhof in the second race. Elsa, what do you think of the fact that starting this year they've cut down run number 2 to only the top 20 qualifying?
I think it's really challenging. I can completely understand why the decision was made. It was to do with ice conditions and making sure that we keep that second run with good ice conditions and keep it competitive. But it is also really tough given that there's often more nations included in the back 10 athletes that are lost than there are within the top 20 that continue. So by cutting that back 10, we are losing a lot of nations. It also makes it quite tricky for some of these athletes when it comes to the Olympic season, because some of these athletes won't be getting 2-run races at any point in these next 2 seasons. And then we come to the Olympics and they're expected to perform over 2 runs. So from a training perspective...
Over 4 runs.
Well, over
Actually,
4 runs, but over 2 runs a day.
That's right. But it should be noted that it is more in line with what a lot of the other winter racing sports do. They
Absolutely.
cut down that field in the last run.
So as I said, I can see why they've done it.
Claudia in 22nd place will not qualify, but also another athlete we will see tomorrow in a usually competitive Poland team relay squad.
Absolutely. Poland in a long-term partnership with Germany. Claudia has had some good performances over the years. She is now the sole representative for the Polish team on the women's side. Not a perfect run there, not quite enough to get her that second run. She'll be looking to improve on that performance in the next race.
Melina Stetskiv now grabbing the handles for the 3rd time today. She did it twice earlier in women's doubles with a top 10 result. Ukraine on the ice is Romania's Buzătoi, still sitting, as we call it, on the bubble in 20th position.
It looked like she might have had a little bit of difficulty getting her right arm in there. It was out of the sled for quite a long time, but she is settled in the sled now. Again, one of these athletes that's right on the brink of whether they make it into World Cup from the Nations Cup. Just missed out last week, but made it in this week. Putting down a nice run here so far. As you said, she's already been down this track twice today on the doubles sled, and we will be seeing her in the team relay tomorrow in the women's doubles section.
Crossing 43.171, 23rd place, no run number 2, but seemingly pleased are the coaches and teammates down below. So she just missed out last week in Innsbruck. Who edged her out, Elsa, to get into the World Cup?
I think we know, Tim, that was me by
7,000th of a second, right.
Often this sport, it is very tight. And we have a sort of group of athletes that are very close together around that 30th ranking that are just edging each other out of the races each week. And so we see a lot of movement in these sort of lower rankings. Having a nice clean run there. Such a strong athlete doing these double GTs. It's such hard work to do both, so a huge amount of respect for her to be managing that.
21-year-old Emma Eriksson still getting her feet wet, her booties wet here in the sport of luge. She raced twice on the World Cup to open up last season in North America. She didn't race here in Oberhof last year, but she's full-time this year.
Great to see a younger American athlete coming through. You can see she's working quite hard on this set. She doesn't look particularly comfortable. You can see she's really fighting with the set to keep it online. Quite high air in 11, just a slightly rough transition into curve 12. Her head is up. She doesn't look particularly relaxed. Just pressing it back there in the straight, but all of these, the body being stiff, the head being high, big reprisal, will cost her time.
She knocks the Romanian out of 20th place, so Emma Eriksson coming off of a 16th last week in Innsbruck, where she was one of 4 Americans to qualify for run number 2. She'll hope to be one of 3 entered in this week's race to also make it into the second run.
Few problems there in her run. She'll definitely be looking to improve that on the second run. There's definitely speed to be made up, but she'll be happy currently sitting in 20th if she can make it into that next run.
4 remain. A Canadian coming up next certainly could challenge for the top 20. Ukraine, Argentina, China, the final sleds still coming up. It was a bit of an adventure for Emma.
Absolutely, but she did well to make it to the finish, and a big hit after Kreisel, so hopefully her arm is not too bruised from that.
Caroline Maxwell now for Canada. She's had some top 12s during her World Cup on and off career. Canada did not come to Oberhof for last year's World Cup racing, or Caroline at least didn't. She missed a lot of last season, if I recall.
I think some of these younger Canadians might be off studying in the meantime as well, managing that with their sporting careers, building for their life after the sport.
That's right. Leon couldn't believe it when I told him earlier that Alex Goff took a full year off from luge and came back and won an Olympic medal for Canada.
Big problems out of curve 13. Again, going into the Kreisel, you could see she was just tired at 13. Just didn't manage to regain it on the finish.
Very unfortunate for Maxwell. And one thing about this Oberhof track, from my observation, Elsa, is once you have one hit, you're going to they're just going to compound. It's tough to straighten out that sled with all of these corners.
Yeah, they're really quick transitions here. One corner leads into the next, into the next. There isn't much time to correct mistakes, and particularly once you've had one, if you tense up, if your shoulders come up, it's really hard to then fix it. You could see here, this was her curve 11. She drops low, is high at the end of 11, and she did the same in this 13. She drops low, she comes high. She did very well not to flip there, but she just then ping-pongs down this straight, and once you're doing that, it's really hard to get control back of that sled. Her shoulders have come up, her head has come up, the balance point of the sled has moved forwards, and now it's just about surviving and making it to the finish.
Well, not to mention all the bumps and bruises you suffer. Incredible what these luge athletes sustain sometimes.
I hope she's wearing some padding on her arms.
The final of the 3 Ukrainians here from the qualifying group, Elina, 24 years old, from the city of Lviv. Her favorite track also is Winterberg. And her luge hero, her favorite luge athlete is Johannes Ludwig, who of course, Elsa, is a local hero here in Oberhof.
Absolutely. We didn't see Elina that much on the World Cup last year. I'm not sure if she did many races, but good to see her back here, a little bit more consistency. I'm not sure where she's gone. There she is.
5/10 of a second back right now. This will not put her in the top 20 unless she finds some extra time down here at the bottom. We're looking probably at 25, 26 at this point.
Sitting in
24th place.
Another
starting to look a little... Go ahead.
Another athlete that won't make it into the second run, but for her, the key thing is consistently making it into this field, making it into the World Cup and building those points.
All right, 2 remain now as we get another look at this exit 13. Not bad. Up next at the top, we have Argentina's Veronica Ravenna. Veronica, who bases herself out of Whistler, where the World Championships will be in Canada. She made some slow progress last year, qualifying for a handful of World Cup races, including a top 20 Elsa here in Oberhof. So that's the goal at the moment.
It looked like her sleeve was undone or her glove was undone on the start there. You could see something flying around on her right-hand side. Veronica's had a little bit of inconsistency in her training here, not finding the times that she wanted. But she put in a good performance in the Nations Cup to get her into this race. She's putting together a pretty clean run so far. Another athlete that's in a long-term partnership with the Germans. Managing that exit nicely out of curve 13. Already a second behind though. I don't think she'll be making it into this second run.
No, she moves up based on her qualifying position by 3 spots, but 26th place puts an end to the week for Veronica Ravenna. There will not be a mixed team event this weekend in Oberhof, but the next time we're here in January, there will be a mixed team competition where we get to see the likes of a Veronica Ravenna and an Alex Ferlazzo and an Elsa Desmond.
Yeah, you could just see her glove on her right hand is undone. The strap is flying around. Veronica, not the fastest starter. She isn't the tallest athlete, which makes it a little bit difficult with the arm length to just get that speed on the start.
That was a good pickup on that glove. I didn't catch that the first time through.
And it can be really distracting when something like that is happening, trying to not think about that while you're trying to focus on your paddles. It can be a little bit off-putting, but she managed it well.
Run number 1 concludes at starter number 30 with the bib, but the 29th as one dropped out. A little bit of an issue at the start ramp there for Julian Hu.
Yeah, just too far to the left side of that start ramp. Did very close to that left wall, but managed to just avoid it. For Julian, the main thing, for Julian, the main thing will just be getting to the finish safely, keeping her spot in 30th.
Well, she'll be at least 29th, I guarantee you that.
Yes, of course. Just a few mistakes here, not the cleanest run. But she manages that exit of 13, working quite hard there in the straight.
Yeah, a little issue heading into the final Kreisel curve. Clean across the finish, though, in 28th place. No second run. China, I believe, will compete tomorrow in the team relay. Do you know otherwise?
Unfortunately, we won't be seeing China in the team relay. Their women's doubles pilot broke her leg in the preseason, and so they don't have a women's doubles here.
Oh, right.
And unfortunately, one of their women also broke their ankle last week in Innsbruck, so we wish her well and a speedy recovery and hope to see both of those siders back on the ice in the new year.
Absolutely, especially as we push our way towards the World Cup finale on the Beijing track, Yangjing, outside of Beijing in late February. That wraps up run number 1. Got standings coming up in a moment. This is a pretty good race. with less than a tenth of a second separating the top three. Austria and Germany holding all of the top 6 positions. And the question is, will Austria spoil things here in Oberhof in front of the German faithful, the German crowd? 800s, Egle over Taubitz. They're the 2 best in the world. Over the last few seasons, Schulte is the defending world champion. She's in 3rd. Ashley Farquharson, the fastest of those not from Austria and Germany. And Emma Eriksson will lead things off the last in with the qualifying. As you see the rest of the field, Buzatoy just misses out in making a run number 2. Some of these athletes we'll see tomorrow in the team relay, but we still have the second run of women's singles coming up in a little bit. How do you see it unfolding, Elsa?
I think that top section is going to continue to be those Austrians and German athletes. They've been putting down some great performances here. So much experience on this track, some very clean lines. But this is luge and anything could happen. 20-minute
break, so grab another cup of coffee, go feed your pet, do whatever it is you do, but don't miss out on the second run of women's singles when Elsa and I return to Oberhof in just a little bit.